Welcome to CathyDSlaught's SRC4u Zoom call for November 4th, 2021. Today will be a special group meetup regarding the SRC4u software. Ralph, who is the programmer for the SRC4u software, will be doing a presentation on the Tree of Life. We're going to join the Zoom call. I will click here. Please prepare your speakers. I'm on the Zoom platform. Last chance, check your speakers.
First of all, I need from all of you the permission to record.
Permission granted.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely.
And so I start the recording. Good morning, everybody. This is Ralph Meter, the programmer of the SRC4u software. Today we are talking about the Tree of Life within the Premium and a little more information and explanation to it. Most of the people in our group don't actually know that it is the key ingredients to the process within the Premium. Years and years ago, Susan Mason and I, we did write a little document and we gave it out to the people which we trained about the Tree of Life. But in the short notice we had after we decided to do training via Zoom for newcomers in the Premium, it never got finished to a full-fledged state. So I want to give a little bit of explanation to what I understand, and I make the point here that I'm talking about myself and the principle I did understand, how this came together and how it does work. Grandmaster David might have some additions to this. He might actually comment on the movie later on. We will see. So let's start with this. Just think about going in the woods and finding a pine cone and getting a seed out of that pine cone. The question is this seed actually already alive or not? So when you look in the old history of QiGong and how it developed, it was said the seed is actually not alive yet, because you could keep it for years and years and years and years and then plant it and a plant would come out. So they got very interested in the basics of how the energies within a being, and consider a pine tree a being, develop. And so they came up with a theory. The theory is as follows. It starts with the soil. It starts actually where and in what you plant the seed. So they did find out then already, carrying seeds with them, traveling through ancient China, Mongolia, and so on, that when they took seeds and planted it in certain kind of soil, that the seed wouldn't grow. It actually as well could come out and grow very slow. It could grow in certain areas very fast. And they didn't understand what's going on there. They found as well that when a seed matured, that it actually would be smaller than usual, taller than usual, or not bear any fruit. So they did find out that the soil itself, where the seed is planted, plays a huge role. So let's go back to the seed which we picked up in the forest. When you plant it inside the forest, what is the soil made of? And that's a question I'm posing to all of you. Anybody has some idea what the soil is made of?
Sand.
Sand, yeah, sure, but let's go a little deeper into the matter.
Pine, pretty much pine needles, the debris from the pine tree. Moss.
Okay, you getting the answer already, but let me shorten this up. You are getting the environment, the residue of the environment. You get that. So it plays a huge role what the environment you plant the seed in is made of. So in theory, most of the environment is made of residue from the ancestors. So somebody already mentioned the pine needles from other trees. Remember, that's a seed. It had never had its own pine needles. So trees die, they deteriorate, and all their material will be mixed in that soil. So ancestry plays a big role. Somebody mentioned moss. Yeah, that's an entity which is foreign to the family tree, but it's a part of the environment. So there are lots of things which are buried in that soil, even the residue of animals, the residue of beetles, the residue of worms. Just think about it. It's a lot which is within that soil. But it is the part of the ancestry of the wood as a whole. The tree is a part of the family. The tree has allowed and invited these additions to come into its existence. So without the wood, certain animals can live. They live and die there. So they are part of that family. So the tree of life within the QiGong means everything which is a part of the society, of the environment, of the being which is born. The main ingredients within the premium and what is the main function of the premium is really the tree of life. The tree of life in the QiGong way and not in any other explanation. And I have to make as well a point that everything we are doing here is Shun Shen Tao QiGong and not traditional QiGong. Traditional QiGong is a part of our Shun Shen Tao, but it is not. It's a more modern version of it, and Shun Shen Tao means it was created by Grandmaster David. He adopted this philosophy and modified it a little bit, and that's what drives the premium. So the idea is as follows. You go within the woods and pick up a pine cone of a tree, get a seed out, and the question was put up by the old Chinese if this seed is already a being or if it is not, because you could keep the seed for many, many years, and you could put it afterwards in the ground, it would grow. So where is the beginning of life was more or less the question. And so they found as well out that different soils will create different features within the trees. So in certain soils it would grow faster, in other soils it wouldn't grow at all. So the question was how to determine when what is actually influencing the growth of a tree. So altitude is a form which can change the growth of the tree. In the valley it grows tall, in the mountains it doesn't. So what they found out later on in this scenario is that water was the key. If you took a seed and just put it in plain water, it would start growing. That interested them. So what makes water different to anything else? If you have ultra dry soil like in a desert, the tree won't grow. But if you add water to that soil, the seed will grow. So they found out that even though they added the water, the tree in that watered soil would not be the same as the trees they had been used to where they picked up the seed. So the question was, what really drove that seed to behave different? So they found out that the best growing soil for the seed was this the area where they picked the seed up. So the environment had to play a role. And so they studied the environment. What is within the wood? Within the wood are the leftovers of the ancestors of the seed. So trees fall down, they decay, they build part of the soil. The wood as well allows other things to come in and be a part, like the animals which will now feel safe in that environment, like plants, specific plants, which like the soil the trees created, mushrooms, worms, insects, all those form the soil the seed grows in best. And that was amazing to them. So taking it out of the environment the seed came from and planting it somewhere else would result in different outcomes. And some, and most of them, would be negative to the growth of the seed. So that is the main basis of the tree of life in the QiGong tradition. You want to be brought into an environment which suits you best. And that is true with every being. So you get born in an environment which is family. Some have a good family. Some have a really disturbing family. Some have bad experiences with the family, but still the ancestry will be present. So you can be brought up, and I have a very good friend whose father was a very spiritual person. So automatically the son became a spiritual person too. But he gave it up because he believed there are better ways than spirituality to drive his life. He focused on more the green environment, the Green Party, and distanced himself completely from being a human being. The environment was more to his mind than the beings which lived in this environment. So from being a spiritual being, he became a pragmatist. He is fighting against other human beings to make the environment change. I don't know. So you can grow up in a family which is just there to help others and distance yourself from the same practice, or you can be brought up in a family which was absolutely negative and corrupt and brutal, and become the most loving person in the world. So you are not bound to your ancestry. You will change then, like the tree changed. You change from a fast-growing tree to a slow-growing tree, or vice versa, in changing the environment you live in. So that's the key point. You all have experienced going in a larger group, that you will get the feeling that you might not want to be on one side or the other side inside the building, because you're getting a vibe which says, I don't think I should sit there. You're getting the feeling. That's what I'm talking about. It is your environment will pull you into the right conditions for you to grow. Understanding this, the tree of life within the premium is segmented into different categories. So, to make a long story short, I want to show you something out of the premium. So I'm sharing my screen. And so the regular premium, I just type in the name, this group. I hit the Wonder click. You can do this in manual too. In doing the enhance button, it will bring up the tree of life. So let me expand this, and we go down to the first options. These are general options. Then there are mental, emotional behavior, and then meridians and organs, sinus glands, you know, all those parts. And then we come to the tree of life. Come on, where are we? Come on. Quite a long list, isn't it? And here we go. And it starts with the spiritual tree. And you can see it says fruits, flowers, blossoms, buds, shoots, leaves, stems, branches, trunk, upper trunk, lower trunk, roots, seeds, and this are the parts of it. So what does this all mean? So let's go back to the tree and its environment it grows in. First thing which comes in is the soil. So the seed you put inside the soil. So lots of seeds won't have the chance to really get into the soil. So they might be sitting on top of the soil, then get water, and then start sprouting. And with the sprouting, the roots will try to get into the ground. Depending how successful this process is, the deeper the roots can go. But most of those trees which are sitting on the surface of the ground won't survive for long. Keep this in mind. This is a way life exists for everything. If it is a human being, a plant, an insect. So if you don't get into the soil and start growing into your environment and start growing, you won't really blossom, be able to grow old. So the first thing which happens is that roots and a little stem will start forming out of the seed. And just envision that there's a little rock in the way, either going upwards through the soil to the surface, or going downwards or sideways in the soil. And that little rock will put a little scrape on the evolving tree. It will be a scar. Am I right? Probably it will become a scar. Later on, when you have that little stem coming out of the ground and getting larger, this little scar will be larger and more visible. When you go out in the woods, you can see trees which have huge scars on them. And they happened when they had been really small, like an animal ripped out a piece of the bark or something like this. The scars are actually visible. So us growing up as human beings, we can get a lot of scars, and we can get these scars before we get actually physically born. So damages within the womb, the wrong food, the wrong minerals will change the way we will form before we are born. The same is with sounds. More and more people are now putting up soothing sounds to the kid while it gets formed in the womb. So, you know, there are series for everything, and it seems to work. The kid is more relaxed when it gets born. So you can actually influence the birth of a child prematurely. So very interesting. The old Chinese already found this out. So nurturing became a really big point to them and how they treated their newborns. It was a huge part of their life. So being close to the mother, being always helped, you know, taken care of by the whole group, that was all things which had to happen. In our life today, nothing of this which I just explained is actually happening. It's very rare that we take care of our environment ourselves. It's really rare that we realize that we all got scars from the past within us that we don't know of. So going through this and looking at the physical body and then trying to figure out why is it not working on the physical body by itself, then we realize that there are other scars in the way which we never knew we had. Emotional scars, spiritual scars, okay, let me share the screen again. I show you one of the two documents I have for you. And again, we created this many years ago, I believe 10 years ago. And it shows you the individual tree. So the spiritual, emotional, energetic, physical, and the Wuji tree, the unexplained things which come from Source itself. So here you can see an example of what the tree is made of. It actually lists all 5 trees and a result on a scan which we did a long time ago, but it shows you the different associations with the tree itself. So the fruits, that is an adult. The flowers, that is more like going down in childhood. The blossom is before birth. The buds are actually before the blossom. The shoots are the little branches which develop. So they will form new branches. So it's after maturity, maybe it's already in an age where you are able to give birth. Leaves is your environment you're living in. So it will change all the time. Every year you will have new leaves. The stems is now explained. The trunk, you have the oldest part of us represented with the trunk. The seeds are the newest parts in our environments. The roots are the same as was the trunk created at the very beginning. So it makes it a little more understandable that the tree of life is talking actually about our age of our environment we are actually living in, and about our experiences which we had. They all need to be taken care of in regards of a single issue. So if you have just typed in the theme box sinus issues, like for me, well, where does it come from? So it starts with the trunk and the roots to find out what actually could have created the issue I have with my sinuses. I have it every year. So I know it's a mold in my sinus cavity, and it specifically with humidity, it starts growing. It's not dangerous, but if I would like to kill it, I would kill myself. So it's a difficult thing to deal with. But one of the issues we are putting in is broken down to all the information in the premium. So to do that again, I show you the theme box one more time, and you can really see that there are, I think there are about 1,000 entries which are all related to the present, the past, and possible future, which would be represented in the blossoms in the flowers. So the flowers and the future leaves are part of the future. That's why we have in our Pro Tools the timeline, and I will open that one up. Here we go with the timeline. I just take myself, keyword, I do sinus, and now I can see inherited, prenatal, past, taught, imposed, the now, the future, all times. Okay? So this means we have to take care of everything in the past to clear our present. And this has to sink in with everyone. And so we put it right in the face of everyone to look at. But, you know, we didn't have then the right words to describe it in perfection. Even though I'm trying hard here, I'm to explain some of the stuff, it's still not the full concept of understanding this philosophy. So the fundamental idea is that we take care of our past, clear it out, get rid of it. That will help us dealing with the present and creating a new future. This is probably the best description in how to read the Tree of Life. So if you have the understanding what was created first and what was created last, then you can as well see the relation in the premium in the individual macros. Or you can see what we are doing now, giving you 20 different themes to think about. And these themes which you're getting are all related to the main cause. So they need to be eliminated first before you really can go to the root problem. And in certain cases, 20 items are not enough. And 100 might be not enough to really eradicate a chronic condition. So that's why we gave the capability of running 10 premiums, or on the stick it's 12, to get the chronic things eradicated or taken care of. Again, you need to understand as well that within the woods, you are a part of an environment. You are a part of a structure which makes you grow. So the environment is really key for you to grow in a perfect condition, in a way that you can enjoy life, be happy, have no fear. You know, all those things depend on the environment you're putting yourself in. And that's what is represented with the Tree of Life. So going through it, you can see that old part needs certain work be done on. New parts need to have certain work done to become perfect. So that's why we put it really visible into the premium to make it more direct to take care of all those little things which really play a role in our existence. So I hope you have questions. And so it's time to ask questions now that we can narrow down even further into this. But my little speech here is more or less done, because my understanding is already perfect or done for myself, and so it might not sink in the same way to you, so I would like to start you ask questions.
I have a question, Ralph. This is Elizabeth. My question, how is the best way for us to approach the software in order to proceed in the right sequence, in order to get the most from our work?
What I suggest, to believe that there are powers in our life and surrounding us which we cannot comprehend. The word in QiGong is Wuji. So the unknown. And I totally believe in a creator. I totally believe that we are light beings. I believe that we are all spiritual beings, and I believe that all of humanity is one. That's what I believe. So I go and suggest to trust the creator. I suggest the Wonder Click. And I say, you want to get better? You yourself need to believe in that you're getting better. So if you believe that you're getting better, ask the divine to help you out with this. Hit the Wonder Click and let it go and see what will happen to you. We had a wonderful example with Leslie. She took a picture of her fingers. They looked like scarred or burned, and put it in the chat on Telegram. And 2 hours later, Leslie showed a picture again, and her hand was healed. Leslie, can you explain this, please?
Not really, because I really don't know what happened to my hands, everybody, because I had noticed when I had just got done changing a ink cartridge in my printer. So if you look at the photo, it almost looks like something happened to the vein inside this finger, and there was some hair, you know, like maybe I pinched it, it was bruised, but I never seen anything like it, because this part of my finger, the vein was actually like, it looked black, almost like there was a worm or something in there. So I didn't know what to do, but I was like, well, because I didn't know what to do, I decided I was going to let the issue solver figure it out for me. So I put my right middle finger in the panel as an issue, my right forefinger as an issue, and then I put, I don't know, just fix it. And I put it on for 8 hours, and I had it repeat every 15 minutes. And I actually, it didn't hurt. It didn't, no pain or nothing. The only thing I remember too is the other day I thought I touched something that was warm, like the kettle. I hit the kettle, but that was the first time I noticed that. But it's gone, vanished. And it's not the first time I've had amazing results like this with SRC4u.
Thank you for describing this. You see, and I really encourage people to report those things, to put them up in the chat. You know, here is what happened to me. It makes such a difference that the belief system which we have is really doing the wonders which we have, which we are all able to do in our existence. So the premium is or all our software actually is a balancing system. The balancing means you trying to balance the energies within a body that they become ideal. So we are not adding energy into a body, we are balancing it. So if you have too much of that here and too little here, so we take the energy from one side and level it out with the other. That's perfect. Okay, you're balanced. That's what we are doing, and all those little things which are described in the Tree of Life are essential to help you out with the balancing. So all those 1,000 lines or more which are created through the enhancement is actually the shoveling around of the energy levels within your body. So again, you have to look at arm, like a branch. Your fingers are little branches. Your fingertips are the more or less the blossoms. So you need to think out of the box. If you look in part where unborn is encapsulated in, which holds the liquids to nourish the kid, it is on that part you can see the veins. The veins are formed in a tree format. Everything which in our body, like the blood vessels, are all formed in a way of a tree, of a branch of a tree with little branches coming off and twigs and so on and so on. Everything within us is in a format of a tree. The meridians, you can compare them with the veins in a leaf. You have so much in comparison to a tree. It's difficult to understand, but it's easy to comprehend when you see the picture of one next to the other. So the old Chinese, and that is 4,000 or 5,000 years old, that tradition of the Tree of Life, is they understood the way and the concept, how we grew way better than we do now in our society. Our society went away from nurturing to hiring a babysitter, so it went away from education to put them into an environment where hate and racism is now taught, so we are not, I could say, human anymore. We are more becoming a solitude being, a single entity without any connections. Well, it never was this way. And that's why it's so difficult to comprehend in today's age and time how the principle of us being one really works, and that's through the Tree of Life and the environment which put us all on this planet. So the connection that we all are the same, that we are all a family, has to be reestablished. And that only can happen if people understand the Tree of Life. So is there more questions, please? Go ahead.
Cathy works on me or my daughter. We get fabulous results. Because of her doing on us, whereas with myself, not so great. Audrey had a skating accident, and she's like, she never asks for anything, and this time she's like, "Will you call Miss Cathy and ask her if she'll work on me?" And it's like Cathy's a drug, because when I work on the SRC, I don't get the same results. But when Cathy works on it, it's like Audrey didn't even know that Cathy was working on her. And the next thing she knows, she's like, "Oh, my tailbone doesn't hurt no more." Before she was gasping for breath. Where when I work on her or I don't get the same results. So referring back to the tree of life, okay, because we're in a transition. Now, we're not in the best of environment. Our food is not the best. So when we're working with the SRC, does that correlate into the energy that we're putting into the SRC for the outcome? Is that why it's like when I do it, it's not like the best? But even if we're over at Cathy's and I try to do it, it's like what she does, it's like a sanctuary in her home. The results are usually like instant, and they basically exceed our expectation when I call, even though I understand that this is all etheric and going back to the tree of life and your environment. It's like, you know, working with the software, the question I pose is that working with the environment with the software, is that, and our food and everything and how we speak, or any type of spiritual level that we're on, does that play a factor in the software and working with it?
Yes, and the factor is you. And the easy way to explain it is doubt. It's the easiest explanation. Now, it's not always correct, but people doubt, and that doubt is what makes a difference. CathyDSlaght is, in my eyes, an angel. She does not doubt ever. She is totally in this matter. The same is with some other people I know, which know they can do it. Jim Trider is a good friend of mine. Since 10 years, he hasn't taken any vitamins, anything. He eats normal food, and he doesn't get sick. He has no doubt. And that's where most of the newcomers to the group will have a problem. They have a challenge. They want to see the effect. Their challenge is to come up and say, all right, I'm testing myself out. I'm my own guinea pig. Fix it. All right? That is doubt. So we are working, and you see it in the latest version of the premium. We have a beta coming up with the people, which with the Biowell. It's in the right-click menu. So when you right-click, you can see here's a new entry. It says import Biowell CSV file. And so what's the Biowell? The Biowell is a device where you put your hand inside, and it uses a specific light to measure your fingertips, and it can measure acidity, it can measure energy output through that light which is inserted. What we found out is that when the Biowell makes a reading of a person, it actually shows the conditions the person is in at this moment. After running the premium, we found out that these conditions got improved. So that means the Biowell could be used to give the doubters an end, because we could prove with the Biowell that our software is actually working. So, but to make a long story short, I have talked to people which gave me a list of 200 items, what's wrong with them, okay? And I put them in the premium and type in all that stuff. And so they come back to me a week later and they say, I didn't feel any improvement. And I'm grabbing that list and read it out to them again. Is this still there? No. Oh, no improvement. Okay, is this still there? Yeah, but it's better. Oh, no improvement. Is this still there? Yeah, it is, but it's not as bad anymore. Is this still there? And I go through the list, and they have to admit that certain things improved. Isn't this funny? But they tell me nothing happened. So that's what I'm talking about, doubt. The doubters will be always there. That's why it takes so long in certain cases to fix them. That's one reason. The other reason is that they don't realize how many scars they actually carry. And most of us, me included, we don't know all the scars which occurred to us during our lifetime. And so the older we are, the more scars we have. That's why it's easy to work on a child. That's why it's easier to work on anything which is young. You get better results. Okay, there's another question. Go ahead, Leslie.
So we could basically go in that timeline panel and just type, whoever the client is, and put scars before born in womb imprint.
You can do that, yes. But the timeline is geared on specific tasks. So you want to give the timeline a target to shoot at.
How would you readdress that then? I mean, just womb imprint all time, but you actually want to address the scars.
Yeah, and so it's a Q&A with your client. So as I say, if somebody says, like in my case, sinus issues since over 30 years, and they are not going away, and so I would put in sinus issue. This is definitely something which is inflicted by the past out of the scars I got, and it's something which will be in my future. So you want to eliminate everything in all times to really make sure you get down to the nitty-gritty and work on those scars. So if you look at the timeline, it's meant to be points of out of a Q&A with your client or with yourself. So if you're working on yourself, then you need to question. You have to sit down and say, what could have happened? For instance, one well, actually, I would say it's the only one I have, but I'm not sure. People will probably tell me different. I still smoke. And why do I still smoke? Well, I got born into a family where my mother smoked while I was in her womb. I got brought up in an environment which was always smoke-filled. My mother stopped smoking when she got pregnant again with my sister 8 years later. But I was 8 years old, and my life, everywhere you went in the house, was smoke-filled. No wonder I started stealing cigarettes from my dad when I was probably 7, 8 years old. I started buying cigarettes when I was 10. I'm 67 years old now. So how do you fix this whole thing? It's very, very, very difficult. Very difficult. I'm working on it every day. But will I ever be able to solve such an old scar? I'm not sure.
Ralph, I can make a suggestion. I studied chronic healing for a number of years with Master Stephen Coe, and I literally saw lifetime smoking habits cured in 45 minutes in our weekend seminars by going in with the crystal into the root chakra, the ajna, and punching out the 4 quarters and then pulling out the core and clearing it.
I would be very interested in that. I'm a believer.
I will send it to you.
Yes, again, coming back to our discussion, putting in smoking in the timeline, I actually have to address situation which is from my grandparents' side and grand-grandparents' side. Because everywhere in my family, everyone smoked. Didn't matter where I went to visit. My grandfather, in the moment the cigarette went out, he lit a new one. I mean, he was rolling himself, you know, like all the older generations then, but he would even on the dining table lit a cigarette one after the other and eat while smoking. So, you know, I would have to work forever on that issue. But he found the right answer to my problem. I'd love to hear some more of your input.
I'd like to add another thing, if I may.
Go ahead.
In my life, I've put on weight. So regarding your smoking, for protection for myself. But using the SRC, or even any modality, when sending out prayers or energy or working on someone, I'm not passing that energy off to that person, am I? Because I've noticed that when I send or I help contribute, it's a positive thing, but I want to make sure that I'm not passing off my energy onto them.
No. The premium has protection built in, which took us more than a year to establish. And we improved on that over time as well. And that protection is that the focus is to balance energy. That means you are balancing only the positive aspects within a body. There's no way any negative for the person you're working on can be transferred. What can happen though, and to make a long story short, I'm a good example of that one too. You can communicate with somebody on the positive end and open a gate to yourself, and you can get actually infected because if you're, as a human being, are not fully balanced, certain things can creep in and take over. In my case, it was I don't have a better word for it, but a witch. She believed in witchcraft, and she had our software, and I tried to help her out. She got absolutely negative, and that negativity took over, and I became physically sick. So Grandmaster David had to rip this out of me physically. The software would have taken too long to get that negativity out of me, and that's why I stopped doing the training online, and why I asked Kevin to take over for my position in setting up people, because I cannot be negatively influenced while writing the software. You wouldn't like it. So what I have to do is more or less keep my environment as clean as possible from any kind of negativity. Believe me, it's not easy in this time, where lies are spread on a daily basis faster than we can say the S word, and there's a new lie coming out every second and making our life more miserable. Then you try to talk to people which you really want to help, and they say you're full of it because they believe in the media and not in the science. It's unbelievable. So getting this out of me is a key point. And that's where the premium and actually the Shimotion and things help me a lot to stay balanced and stay clean. So you don't have to worry there, Joanna, because the premium takes care of that. So whatever you believe is not a part of the package of balancing.
Very good, thank you. Because usually before I start the software or do a session with anyone, or I'm helping with the prayer group or mediating a prayer group, I always run my sage. I use Dr. Kersey's discs, and I have certain semi-precious stones that like jet and tourmaline, like the black stones, for protection. So do I not need to worry about all that, or is that like an added benefit complementing the software?
Okay, whatever you do is right, okay? When you believe in it, you're good. But in regards of using the premium and become a better coach and healer, my opinion is lose the doubt. And there's another thing which goes together with the word doubt. It's the past. Lose the past. The past is gone. It doesn't matter what. You won't be able to change it. When we are going into the past, we are finding out what happened in the past, not correcting the past. The past is done. It did damage. So the damage is present. Now we can work on it. So letting go of things of the past is the second main ingredients of the tree of life, because you won't be able to change it. You cannot take a full-grown tree, well, now we can probably, but you couldn't do that then, and move it from one point to the other without killing the tree. And that's where we have the reference back to the tree of life. You don't want to change the path. Whatever happens, happens now.
Thank you so very much.
This is Deborah. I have a question on the timeline. When we do all time, does that include past lives?
Yes, it includes as well ancestry. Yes.
Thank you.
I have a question. I understand what you say about lose the doubt. Do you have suggestions on how can we use the SRC to help us lose it?
No, the SRC won't be able to really help you with this. It's you yourself. You go in a grocery store and they have a special on because it's before the expiration date. And you say, should I buy it or shouldn't I buy it? It might be good, it might be bad. That's called doubt. So if you just say, I don't have enough money to buy the new one, hey, that's a good deal. Change your mindset. Go for it. Bingo. You are better off. If you have a reaction later on because it already was spoiled, well, okay, you won't buy it the next time around, but you lost your doubt now. That's what I'm talking about. So it is your mindset. It is you yourself who have to free yourself from the doubts that you can help other people and you are the one helping yourself. And that is easy to do in going into yourself and saying, well, who else will do it? You know, do I have an alternative? No. Try it? You know, no. Do it is the key. And the more people do, and the more people want to do it, the stronger the effects will be. Remember, I don't know if all of you know that yet, but I want to get a team together for maybe 100 on the Telegram side. The reason why we will have a daily pick of a person we will work on. So everyone can use the same program to help one specific person which we will select. The power of what we can do will be multiplied by 100. Envision that. That is my goal. That's why I'm creating the groups. That's why I love those team meetings like here on Zoom. Because we all together, I mean, I'm hot, physically hot from the energy I'm getting from you guys. You are absolutely great. I enjoy this. So we can do wonders if we combine. It's the time now. I mean, we're seeing all these problems around us. So let's fix them. We can. We have the right tools and we have the right mindset to do so. So I might open another chat which will be only for a weekly or daily balancing session, and people can join, and people can then at a certain time of the day, all together we click the button and see what wonders we can do.
I'm going to share something. I wish Ron was here, and now I'm getting what you meant by doubt. Ron shared a story in one of the Zoom sessions about how it had to do with regards to wealth and using a grab-avoid number. And so I was like very doubtful. And I thought, I'll give it a try. So I used the SRC with the grab-avoid number, and I had unexpected funds land in my bank account. So with what you're saying about doubt, it clicked now. It's like, oh my gosh, I get it, because I went in like a child, and I wasn't thinking nothing. I was just like, let's just see what happens. And it worked. And so now, because of that, I tested it a second time because I'm like, the first time. So then the second time I did it, and I followed a different procedure, and it landed money in my bank account. So when I help now with doing different things, I go in like the mind of a child, and so excited and having so much love that what you're saying about the Telegram group and the daily healing and then healing and stuff, there's a book called The Power of 8. Now, when I try to go in and I try to do these different things, I'm like, oh my gosh, if I do this. So when I do these things or I help with these things, I get so excited. So now I see what you mean about the doubt, and I just want to say thank you. I get it now.
Okay, all right. That's a wonderful example. You know, the other thing which I use most of the time, you know, but I would have to do it visibly for you all together, is that I tip my fingers, and that's the Qigong, and I say in my back of the, in my mind, I have remove all doubt. Okay, search for doubt, remove all doubt, clear all doubt. And that really works. So you can do this with anything which you want to negate, which you want to get out. You can use the little Qigong, and it's easy to do. I can feel it going through my whole body, the energy, but I'm playing with energies probably longer than you are, and I'm more aware to them. But if you are energy aware, you can feel this little tip. And some of you might be actually able to find it, to feel it right now, because the quantum world doesn't know time or distance. So the Qigong is one of my favorite tools to use to get aspects like doubt or I call it energy pollution out of a body of somebody. You can clear it. And energy pollution, 80% of what this is actually the mental stress we are under on a daily basis. So learning to deal with these stresses, leaving the past behind, that really helps you to clear all those stresses out of your environment, and doubt is all of a sudden gone as well. So it's not trying, it is doing. Doing is the key.
Yes, and it's confirmation. As you were doing that and talking, I was getting goosebumps, which for me, goosebumps is, or whoever I'm talking to, is a sign of truth. And it's so weird because when people see me, they're saying, but you're so happy. But I'm thinking in my brain, but it's so negative. And so that little trick that you were doing, it's like I do that. I go, cancel, 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 clear. And I start thinking positive things. And so I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for teaching us. And the other thing was the ball, the energy ball. And I use that.
The fireball.
Yes. And I just want to say thank you.
The fireball is very, very powerful, and it wakes people up I'm using it all the time to help people finding their own energy. It's just keeping your hands about that far apart and rotating them in any direction, palm over palm, and they will then start tingling, and they will show you your own energy, the energies you carry within you, and then you can squeeze your hands and you will see the energy flowing through your whole body, and you can continue making it larger and larger, the ball which you're rolling between your hands, and it energizes and balances you. So doing that fireball on a daily basis and doing it multiple times will as well alleviate stresses off you. So to make a long story short, here alleviating stresses. Now, is one of you at the moment scared or upset or stressed in any form or way? I doubt it. I think you're all pretty much in balance with yourself. Otherwise, I would get a blip, in my energy field and saying, okay, here's somebody who's in dire need of help. But I cannot feel it from any one of you. So that means distractions, positivity, what we are doing here, is helping you balance yourself just like that, without doing anything. So you're listening, you are observing, and you're feeling good. But
I have another question. Regarding the timeline, is it okay to put in intuitive discernment and let that particular tool determine what is most valuable to deal with?
whatever you think you want to do is correct. Do it. So don't ask questions in this regard. If you believe you should do this, do it. You cannot do any harm. Like I got asked many times, I have to be careful what cocktail I load. No, load them all. Put 1,000 in there. It doesn't matter, because the premium will determine which ones it needs and which ones it doesn't. So can you do anything wrong? No. So take the doubt away from yourself. Your intuition will guide you. Do it, and 99.9% your intuition will prove you right. So I don't get any more takers. I really appreciate you all showing up for this little get-together. It makes me feel so positive that I could get you another step in the world of the energies and give you a little better understanding. I wish you all a wonderful rest of the day, and I close the meeting for today. You all have a blessed future, and let's do that more often and get together with the Zoom meeting. I think it will help everyone. So
Thank
you
you.
have a
Thanks,
really
Ralph.
good
Ralph.
day.
Thank you.
This concludes the presentation on The Tree of Life by Ralph. Thank you for attending. We look forward to seeing you on the next presentation. Till then, take care and be well.